Welcome back to another episode of the Fat Gay Texan. This is Jake, your host. This is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything, and we don't throw political correctness out the window because we never let it in the house to begin with. So I wanted to talk today about discrimination, and specifically gay discrimination, and how I've experienced it in my life and how it's affected me and how it's changed my train of thought, yada, yada, yada. So have I experienced gay discrimination or prejudice or whatever you want to call it? Some, I guess, is the answer to that. Not as much as you would think, and certainly it has not really affected my life in any way, shape, or form. I had a neighbor once who was a really short little dude, and we were outside hanging Christmas lights on our house, and he was all pissed off because our gay dog was in his yard and get your gay dog off my yard. And so he came up to me, Mr. Rough and Tough. I'm going to, meanwhile, he's looking up at my chest from where he's standing. I mean, like the Monopoly man is yelling at you. And I'm like, dude, there are two of us here. We are 6 feet tall. We are over 200 pounds and you are 5'3" on a good day. It was ridiculous. So that's really actually been the only citable thing that's actually I remember. I'm sure there's a couple of times where people said, hey, fag or faggot or go back to California or things like that, which is dumb because I'm not from California. But outside of that, there's really been nothing. And in fact, I've lived in some really small towns in Texas and I've lived in some pretty rural areas, and I have faced less discrimination and less weird looks and everything else in these small towns. Most of my friends live in small towns, and they are not the people on the surface you would think would accept gay people into their lives, but you would be dead wrong. And the reason I don't think gay discrimination specifically has played a role in my life is because I would have been discriminated against for something irregardless, because people are jackasses. People are jackasses. If it's not because I'm gay, it's because I'm fat, or it's because I kind of have a country accent, or it's because I have blonde hair, or it's because I wear glasses sometimes, or it's because my music choice, or it's because I drive a Ford and not a Chevy, or anything. I'm tall, I'm not tall enough. Any of these things, people are cruel, and kids specifically are cruel. I have a neighbor who has a son. They are black. And he is autistic, and he's actually a really great kid, really freaking smart and very polite. But he got called the N-word at school, and he punched the kid. And I'm like, well, good for you. That's what the kid deserved. But she was attributing it all to race, and she associated it with race simply because he used the N-word. And I had to correct her. I'm like, no, that kid's probably not racist at all. Kids are cruel. If it wasn't that, they would have made fun of him because he's autistic, or they would have made fun of him because he wore glasses. When people supposedly discriminate against you and use slurs, they just look for the thing that they think is going to get under your skin. It doesn't mean they believe it. They're just being a jackass. I have called many people fat in arguments when I was younger. That man that I was talking about earlier, Mr. Monopoly man, I'm going to beat you up. He had a fat ass wife. And I mean fat. I'm fat, but she was fat. Think of my 600-pound life fat. Okay. And she was on the front porch. Yeah, yelling. And so I, of course, yelled back. What is it, you fat bitch? What is it, you fat bitch? Do I care if people are fat? No, I don't give a shit. I'm fat. It was just the one thing, the easiest target I had at the time when I was 19 years old to sit here and attack her with, because I knew it would piss her off. I don't discriminate against fat people. If I did, I would be self-hating, and I am not self-hating. But no, so a lot of these things. Now, that's not to say there are not some genuine back-ass woods people in the world that will discriminate against you solely because of that. They don't understand you're gay. They don't like the fact that you're black. They don't like this. They don't like that. These are really stupid people. Anyone who is genuinely racist or genuinely discriminatory are the stupidest, least intelligent people in the entire world. They are lower than dirt. We need to kick them out, and they need to go somewhere, because I don't understand how you can judge somebody solely based on one attribute about them when it comes to something they can't control. It was the way they were born, and you're going to judge them based on that. That is the worst possible thing you can do. It makes you the least intelligent person in the world. If you don't, now you don't have, like, being gay is a little different to an extent. You may not have to sit there and encourage your son. Yeah, well, I hope you find a boyfriend and you fuck all night and have a great time. No, but you cannot hate someone for how they were born. You cannot do that. That makes you a fool and a moron. And if there are a list of rules to get into heaven that are not listed in the Bible, that is certainly one of them. You cannot be a moron. It is a sin. And morons are discriminatory. Morons will judge you based on your sexual preference, or your race, or your gender, or your age, or your weight. These people need to be shipped off. We need another Australia. We need another, like, big vacant island somewhere where we can just start young ass time ago. When we're 19, we're all stupid. So has gay discrimination affected my life? No. The energy it takes to discriminate and to treat this group of people that way and that group of people this way and these people that way is so much more energy and soul sucking than it is just to love everybody. I give every cool as a world. Yeah, there's some, fucked up places that will never be cool. Most of them in the Middle East. But as far as America goes, I think we were pretty for very long. So we're on that far wrong side of things right now as a country. We are very worried about race. We are very worried about gender. And at the end of the day, the reason it seems that we have more of it than we used to is we just have more jackasses now than we ever have. We have more jackasses and idiots. They don't believe it, honestly. They just want to piss you off. They want a reaction. Now, I like to think that it's appropriate to say I'm going to take the lazy approach to things in life sometimes. I'm not going to work or passion projects like this podcast. That gets under my skin. I may not show it, but it can. And it probably shouldn't let that happen, but it does, because those people, once again, I guess, don't get got. Just take the lazy ass approach. Don't respond and just ignore them. They'll move on. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this podcast. Everything in the world except this podcast. But not every stupid thing that's said deserves a reaction. Because if I spent the time to comment on every stupid thing that was said, I wouldn't have time to bring you great content like I do now. Haha. But seriously, just let it go. Realize that that's not what they believe, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll feel a lot better when you just let it go. You don't respond, and you just realize that some people are cruel because they're idiots. They don't even know they're being cruel. They just want to get a rise out of you. Anyway, this has been Jake for the Fat Gay Texan, and you can find us all over social media, most social media sites. You can find us on almost every podcast streaming platform, YouTube, and of course on TikTok. Have a great night. Thank you so much for listening.